And welcome in, everybody, to another episode of the High Low Sports Podcast. We appreciate you all joining us here for our final show of the year. And that doesn't mean that we're going on a break or anything like that. That's just because 2022 is coming to an end as well. It's been a very fun year. We look forward to going back and looking at some of the sports moments we talked about and a whole lot of other things. It is DJ, joined as always by my co-host Kelsey and Kelsey. The gifts are open. The pie is eaten. The food is slowly but surely digesting. We're at the back end of the holiday season as Christmas is come and gone. Hanukkah is at the back stretch. Kwanzaa is at the back stretch. And we are closing out on a new year, which means another year in sports wrapped up in the rearview mirror.
Yeah, it's wow. It's already there. I mean, really, it's been a heck of a year. It's really been interesting. It's and a lot of storylines left and right. But you mentioned the pie. I don't know if I had enough pie yet. I don't know if you could ever have enough pie during the holidays. Just getting back to more fun stuff. But no, it's been a fun year. Obviously, sports all around. Started off with a bang. We're ending with a bang in this year as well. So it's been a wild ride, and I don't know. I guess I'm looking forward to next year. See what 23 has in store.
Absolutely. We've got a whole lot to look forward to in that as well, too. And I look forward to. We're going to talk about some of our favorite moments from this past year. We'll get into all of that here shortly as well, too. But we're going to go ahead and start things off by heading on over to the tip-off as well, too, to kick the show off. And for today's tip-off, I feel like it would be almost fitting if we start on the basketball court as well, too, for the tip-off. And honestly, I think the one thing that stands out so far in basketball is Luka Doncic. Oh, my goodness. He continues to – I think he has a vendetta and is always going directly at you for literally 3 seasons ago when you said he's not quite that good yet. And we're yelling at our guest, Devin, saying he should not be the MVP. And since that moment, I think Luka's had a personal vendetta against you. And I feel like every single time he does something, he's staring at you when he does it.
It is possible. I honestly don't know anymore because this year, at least, I said he was going to be the greatest of the regular season. I said it. I stand by it. And I feel even more vindicated now after what he did last night, setting history. I mean, absolutely, what a night! And it's not just last night. Let's be fair. He's been building to this. He had a 32-point game against the Lakers on Christmas Day, 1 rebound and 1 assist shy of a triple double. He had a double double, a 50, 10, and 8 double double against the Rockets on the 23rd. But last night, just setting a record against the Knicks of all teams. Like, is there another team that is meant to have records set against them than the Knicks? I don't think there is. I think it's like either you play in New York or you're playing against the Knicks, and somebody's going to set a record somehow. And Luka did it in 47 minutes, gave you 60 points, 21 rebounds, and 10 assists. By the way, 2 steals and a block as well. But absolutely, just what a night! I can't express that enough. Like, just insane the stat line he had and all of that. It's just magical.
And on top of that, too, he did that on 68% shooting from the field as well, too. And they were down by 9 with 37 seconds left. The numbers were like 3,453 all time when a team was down by 9 or more points with 35 seconds left. And now it is 1-3, blah, 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 and a whole bunch of numbers as well, too. Not only was it stat stuffing or anything absolutely insane like that, it was to win the game, including that missed free throw attempt, takes a weird bounce, and he gets the most old man game, Joe Ingles playing in the backyard with your uncles back in the heyday when you were a little kid, put back shot from a little bit outside the block as well off the tip. And the giddy school kid on the playground look on his face after pulling that off and then going on to win as well. An absolutely sensational performance, probably the best individual performance we've seen. If you take away like surroundings, what it means, like obviously it's not a finals performance, even a playoff game, but just individual performance that we've seen with our eyes, probably the best we've seen in a very, very long time. I don't want to say since Kobe's 81, but it's hard to think of a whole lot in between that's going to match 60, 20, and 10, including a game-time bucket at the buzzer on top of it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, man. I honestly can't. I was speechless last night. Like, just when seeing that stat line. And my favorite part was the post-game interview, obviously. He's like, he had to ask the interviewer, wait, I had 60? What? Like, no, not me getting 60. And then they asked him, like, how do you feel? I'm like, he's like, I need a what was it? A recovery beer. I was like, oh, okay. That's Luka now. Now that Luka's 21, he can actually say things like that. But before that, he couldn't say things. But no, that was, I mean, they always say big players step up in big moments. I don't know if the 27th of December against the Knicks at home is a big moment. But in the NBA in the regular season, I feel like you can turn any day into a big moment. And coming off an almost triple-double against the Lakers on Christmas, like what better way to answer an almost triple-double than a history-breaking triple-double? I don't know, man. Luka's just the dude's made of magic. At this point in time, that's all there is to it. He's the old man game that just keeps just working. His game can work in all eras. So I guess we're just here for the ride. Like that's how it feels right now. I'm just not going to say anything bad about Luka anymore after the last 3 years of him taunting me.
And on top of it, now when you pick him to go to the MVP, he has a burst. He slows down a little bit. Then just when it feels like maybe he's coming back down to earth, he gives you some stuff like what he's done these last few games as well. And on top of that, Christian Wood is starting to come into his own off the bench as well, too, having all-star caliber numbers, which if he can go going, you can give Luka 30% help, just something to go along with his 60 to get you to 80, basically. Team could be very scary, and he's making a strong case for your MVP prediction as well, too. He's definitely he's helping you out with that one a whole lot today as well. And there's a whole lot more to come, you feel like, as well, too. But it's absolutely sensational performance. Not going to say Baby Bird-esque because that's too cliche, but Luka magic in his own way. Like
let's pump the brakes on the Baby Bird-esque commentary.
Yeah, exactly. We're not going to get that asinine, but he definitely took flight last night as well, too. An absolutely sensational performance that, you know what? If we didn't, when we talk about best moments of 2022, this one's probably just going to miss the list because it happened a little bit late on us. But it's definitely something we're going to remember when we look back on this year as well too. But that was we're going to go from the hardcore now. Talk a little bit about the gridiron as well too, because there's an interesting headline that made topics recently, and that was Jay Jettas, Justin Jefferson, not only saying that he should be in the running for offensive player, but he's saying he should have a case for MVP as well too, saying that he should be in that conversation with the pace that he's on as well too. And we're going to keep it simple at the start of this one. Kelsey, what does he have? What do you think about his case for MVP? Strong case, weak case, get out of here, or crown him?
You know, honestly, this year, mid Cousins wouldn't be a thing without Jay Jettas. Iced out Cousins wouldn't be a thing without Jay Jettas. Minnesota wouldn't be a thing without Jay Jettas. I look at that, and this season alone, let's think about MVP candidates right now. Like true, absolutely have a full case, have not stumbled along the way. MVP candidates this season. Joe Burrow had a rough start to the season. Okay, you have Patrick Mahomes. That's number one probably right now.
Running away with it probably.
Yeah, Josh Allen. But at the same time, he's made a lot of mistakes as well. Beyond that, nobody from the AFC North, nobody from the AFC East, nobody from the AFC West other than Patrick Mahomes, nobody from the AFC South that I can think of that would even deserve it, even deserve a conversation for the MVP right now. Look at the NFC. Yeah, look at the NFC right now. Maybe Jalen Hurts, but now with the injury, that's a stumble. The Eagles not clinching against the Cowboys, that's a stumble. The Cowboys, there's nobody on the Cowboys that'd be up for this nomination. So look at the NFC. Maybe he does have a case for MVP this year just because there's not enough candidates. There's nobody from the South in the NFC. There's nobody from the East in the NFC other than Jalen Hurts. Nobody from the West. Nobody from the North other than Jay Jettas, really. Like, that's because you're not going to say, if you're going to take Kirk Cousins as an MVP candidate, he doesn't exist without Jay Jettas. And I guess you can make the same case back and forth. Jay Jettas doesn't exist without Kirk Cousins, but those astronomical physics-making catches he's had this year say otherwise. There's no other way to put that. I mean, he has made Kirk Cousins this season. He has kept the Vikings in 4 games I can think of off the top of my head. 10 wins of 4 points or less don't happen if it's not for Jay Jettas. So I think he does have a case this year. I don't know if he's again, you're going against Patty, who is literally just ramrodding everybody. So I don't think and then it's still a quarterback-driven league, so you still have Jalen you have to leap over, and what he's done so far has been extraordinary. He has a case. If we're voting for a Heisman, he might finish second in the Heisman voting, but this is the MVP race. There's no second place finisher, and you don't get awards for second place in the MVP race. But I will say this: Offensive Player of the Year, yeah.
lock that up, throw away the key. That one's a wrap. Unless Tyreek Hill has 200 yards the next 2 weeks with Teddy Bridgewater, that offensive player of the year should be a wrap for him at this point on that one. For sure. I will say I agree with you.
It's crazy.
It's done. That one's over. That's a wrap. I think what struggles with me too is he's having a fantastic season, probably going to break the yardage record, assuming he doesn't fall off these last few weeks, most likely. He was my offensive player of the year when we started the season, and I'm still sticking with that. But if Cooper Kupp could only get one MVP vote last year when he had a triple crown and more than double the touchdowns that Justin Jefferson has, it's hard for me to, especially when last year I think you can make a case the MVP class was even weaker than this year. I mean, Aaron Rodgers won it, and he missed a game and a half with Rona and was like 18th in passing yards and somehow won the MVP. Tom Brady led in touchdowns and passing yards, but also led in picks. But had some of the most picks he's had in a while. Cooper Kupp, triple crown, obviously arguably the best receiver season of all time when you encapsulate everything, and he got a single vote. So he has a case, but I agree with you. That's at this point, it's a quarterback with the occasional running back award at this point. It's going to, like when Derrick Henry had 2,000 yards 2 years ago, he didn't even get a vote. So I think he has a case, but it kind of stops. It peaks at 3. He peaks at 3rd. And this year, the MVP voting is a little bit different than previous years. They're doing it kind of like how the NBA does it, where you put 1 through 5, basically instead of just voting for one guy. So I feel like Patty and Jalen are 1A, 1B, 1 and 2 now with Jalen Hurts being dinged up. Then Joe Burrow, Justin Jefferson, I think make that case for number 3 as well too. But I agree with you. He has a case. Maybe if he had like, instead of, what is it, like 8, 9 touchdowns, maybe if he had like 18 touchdowns to go with the yards on top of it, just to bolster it a little bit. Because for a receiver to win, he's going to have to Randy Moss 2007-esque type BS or something like that, or last year's Cooper Kupp with that. It's a really tough case. But I think offensive player of the year, locked and done, as we mentioned. He has a case that's just, we'll see what he does these last 2 weeks. We'll say that. If he pulls something out absolutely astronomical and somehow the Broncos shut down Patrick Mahomes for one of those games, which what's plan B?
Yeah, like there is a slim possibility. I will give you that. Like there's that slim possibility that like for some reason Patty doesn't do anything the next 2 weeks. And again, like I said, the Jalen situation there, and then he just goes off for what 200? What do you think? 202 touchdowns, and then a passing touchdown the next 2 weeks.
And then throw a rushing touchdown in there too, like 6 total touchdowns, maybe something like that, and 400 total yards. It's possible, but like you said, it's going to take he's going to have to be playing at LSU against Oklahoma in the college football playoff. He's going to have to do that again, basically.
He's going to have to look like Jay Jettas versus that Auburn defense where he scored 4 touchdowns as well. It's crazy to think though that this might be the really the only chance we have for something other than a quarterback to actually have an opportunity at an MVP, and it's still honestly not even close. If we're being fair, like it's not really like even a real thought in most people's minds. You know, it's just kind of like, oh, yeah, I guess. Like
it's crazy between him and Cooper Kupp last year. It feels like they both in a previous life would have an MVP right now, but in the current life, they're unfortunately just going to be a day late and a quarterback short, I guess, as well too. And both teams carried carried their teams from the receiver position, which is in history not very, very common. You don't see that where the receiver carries the team on their back like quarterbacks do. But either way, a very interesting case he made as well too. But we are in agreement. Jetta's add another trophy to the award case. It might not be the MVP, but you, sir, are offensive player of the year, and I don't think there's any questions about it, barring maybe Josh Jacobs going off for 250 now that he's going to be the starting quarterback and running back at this point for the Raiders. With them benching Derek Carr, he might be taking some snaps. So maybe Josh Jacobs gets you 500 yards in these next 2 weeks and makes a case of his own. But with the way that thing's going, I highly doubt it. So Justin Jefferson, you are offensive MVP, but not total MVP, I'd say right now as well. Too. But
it's tough too because it is that weird award. Like MVP just goes to quarterbacks, it seems like, and offensive player of the year will go to anything but a quarterback, which is just, to me, it feels like this should be backwards. Like I feel like an MVP should just literally be the best player. But what do I know? What do I know about sports? Period.
And on top of that too, it's not just JJ's, but there's guys like Nick Bosa that you could say are making a case for MVP if it encapsulated beyond a quarterback as well too with the season he is having as well. And so you know what, we digress. We won't get too far into the weeds on this one as well too. But MVP is kind of like a Heisman, but where it feels like it's primarily a quarterback award, minus the Devontae Smith from a couple of years ago as well too. But you'll hear people that argue that one, that dispute that one somehow as well too. So
Yeah, and I do want to say before we get off of the topic of football, and as we're speaking of former guys making case for MVP, if you missed the news, JJ Watt is announcing his retirement, so he will no longer be playing after this season, which is bittersweet because it's a guy that we all kind of looked at and was like, yeah, that's interesting. Like he doesn't really fill up a stat sheet, he doesn't really look like that, but you watch him play, and arguably DJ, you got to experience him in the AFC South for many a year, and what he used to do to quarterbacks. So, it's one of those things where you look at what he did on the field and you're just kind of appreciative of his work ethic and everything he did. And you look at his story and it's fantastic. So I just want to, send a shout out to one of the, I'll give him one of the legends of our current generation.
100%. Everyone talks about how good Aaron Donald is right now. They might be forgetting how good JJ Watt was from like 2012 to 2015. Obviously, Aaron Donald, long-term longevity. He's done it for like 8 years, where JJ Watt had a 3-year run. But that 3-year run, I mean, you put him head-to-head with any of Aaron Donald's 3 years, good luck, everybody else. Like during that span, he might have been one of the most dominant defensive players ever. And he was catching touchdowns on top as well, too. He did literally everything to win an MVP. The problem is he was on Houston before they had Deshaun, so they had absolutely no chance of winning, basically. So it was a mess, but he's a Hall of Famer from those 3 years alone. Plus, he's had a long career on top of it, including some other really good years. Comeback Player of the Year candidate in 2018 with 15 sacks. Like, he's outstanding career, Hall of Famer, should be first ballot. And any of those who watched him in his prime, if injuries didn't take him over, we'd be talking about him in the same way with Aaron Donald as well, too. Like, we'd be talking about him get his ring, get his crowning moment, all the flowers that we see for AD. And that's not a shot on AD. That's just how freaking good the former Central Michigan tight end turned walk-on at Wisconsin turned out to be. Like, he's absolutely
and a top 15 pick too. Let's not forget a top 15 pick, number 11 overall, that got booed when he got drafted.
And look where they are now. Less than a year later, he was Defensive Player of the Year. I think he had like 60 sacks over the course of a 3-4 year period. He had back-to-back 20 sack seasons. Absolutely incredible. And he wasn't even known for sacks. He was known for swatting the ball down like Dikembe Mutombo. That is how good he was, is that sacks were almost like second thought to, because it was like, oh, well, he got sacked. But the way he swats, everyone talked about the way he swats it as opposed to the ridiculous amount of sacks he gets. Plus catching touchdowns. I'm surprised he didn't throw one in his career, honestly, at some point. And he probably ran a few. And he's absolutely incredible. Did everything.
I know he lined up his fullback enough.
Yeah, he did. And terrorized a lot of people as well. So it definitely will be missed as well, too. Kind of wish he would have got a chance to go out like in a playoff run on a playoff team. So maybe a Super Bowl run of his own. Unfortunately, Arizona kind of imploding this year as well, too. But definitely will be missed. And if you don't know, go check out some of his highlights from back in the day, too. If you didn't get a chance to watch him live, you're in for a treat. Like, go and set aside an hour, go check out YouTube, or if you have the NFL, if you have the NFL.com, NFL Plus, where you can go look at some past games too, go have yourself a blast. It's definitely a good time to watch him in his heyday. But that'll do it here for the tip-off as well, too. And that's going to take us now into Kelsey's second favorite part of every show, and that is the main event. And the main event, of course, brought to you by our new friends over at manscaped.com. If you don't know yet, well, now you should know, as we've been lucky enough to be partnered with them too. Use code HILOSports for 20% off at checkout. Get yourself some nice after holiday gear as well, too. Maybe you didn't get everything you wanted for Christmas. Maybe you just need a little bit of help with grooming as well, too. Shampoos, deodorants, body wash, nose hair trimmers, body trimmers, everything in between. Get yourself something nice at manscaped.com. Use code HILOSports, 20% off. I believe free shipping is still going on as well, too. So go ahead and get yourself a little something nice. Use some of that money you got in your stocking stuffers as well, too, or some of those Visa gift cards. Go ahead and spend wisely there as well, too. Get a whole lot of bang for your buck and keep yourself looking a little fancy going to the new year. Make sure you love yourself heading into the new year so you can start the new year off right and feeling great as well, too. Always a pleasure to work with Manscaped, and they're one of the new companies we've had the pleasure of working with in 2022. And it's been a fun year for us. So we're going to look back on 2022 now for the main event, talk about some of our favorite sports moments as well, too. And I promise no more Manscaped plugs here as well, too. Even though that was one of our favorite moments of 2022 is getting to work with them. Hey, we're going to keep it focused a little bit more in the sports world for this.
I got to go home for the holidays, and so I did actually get to make the funny joke to my family that I got paid for talking about balls on TV or on the radio or on podcasting. And everybody thought it was hilarious, except for my mom, who just shook her head and just was just like, oh, that's my child. It's just one of those moments, like, deep down, maybe she's like, secretly proud, but like at that time, she's just like, God,
that's why she got the
diamond. What?
It was after that joke is when she decided to get the dog the T-shirt that said "favorite child" at that point.
Yeah. Just so everybody knows, spoiler alert. And if there was ever any doubt, if you know me, you know my family, you know my parents. It's no my family in general. They all love my dog more than they love me, and it was just proven as I was getting ready to drive back to Ohio. My mom puts a shirt on my dog that says "favorite child." Not my favorite child. No, that is my parents' favorite child is my dog. So knows where I fall in the family tree.
And by the way, the dog doesn't normally like to wear shirts either, but was glad to wear this shirt just to make sure they could rub it in your face as well too. So
yeah,
anyway,
and she did it as I'm leaving the house, so I can't
can't
say anything about
it. But anyway, heading now into, we're going to go over some of our 5 favorite sports moments of 2022. Looking back on it, I'll go and get us started with this one really quick, really early as well too. This one happened early in the 2022 year of 2022. We're going to go back to the Super Bowl, and we spent a lot of time talking about receivers in the last one. So I'm going to go to the crowning jewel of what was one of the best receiver seasons we've ever seen, and not just the Super Bowl, not just Matthew Stafford and Aaron Donald getting their long-awaited rings. I'm looking at Cooper Kupp's game-winning drive. Not even just going to go with just the touchdown. We're going to go with the entire drive. It wasn't for a fourth quarter drive to win the game. They didn't put the game on Matthew Stafford's back. They didn't put it on Cam Akers' back and hand the ball. They gave the ball to Cooper Kupp every play. They handed it to him on an end around on fourth down in a couple. Matthew Stafford's no-look pass to Cooper Kupp. The down in the red zone, third down, throws it to Cooper Kupp, gets pass interfered with after getting held by a linebacker. Throws a fade to Cooper Kupp, doesn't work. Does it again, works with Cooper Kupp having an incredible catch in front of Eli Apple for the game-winning touchdown. And just going back to that one moment as well, too, seeing a cap on a small kid from Eastern Washington College, FCS school, who played all 4 years on top of it as well, too. Drafted in the 3rd round, I believe it was, something like that. A little bit injury prone before that as well. Not a big name, thought of as a punt returner / good slot receiver. And then in that moment gets to put a cap and get the flowers for the greatest receiver season arguably we've ever seen. It did have the extra game, didn't break any records, but the way he pulled off that triple crown and then the Super Bowl MVP, that was when I think of 2022, it's going to be hard to not include a cup of Campbell's soup, if you will, a cup of victory from Cooper Kupp.
A couple catches along with a couple nice touchdowns, and you can go with a couple jokes all day long. There was an absolute fantastic that moment, that drive alone. There was no question where Matthew Stafford was going on any one of those passes. Like honestly, I'm sitting there, I'm watching the game, and I'm like, if he doesn't go to Cooper Kupp every time, and it wasn't like he forced it to Cooper. It was, I mean, maybe the last pass, but up until that point, it wasn't like he wasn't getting himself open. Like he was open, even for Matthew Stafford, he was open. Let's be fair. Like for Matthew Stafford, he was in open territory. For maybe like somebody like Alex Smith, maybe he doesn't pull the trigger. But that was like the quintessential like Matthew Stafford gunslinger mixed with the best receiver we have seen since Randy Moss as far as statistics go. And he's on his game. Like he is firing at all cylinders. It wasn't like he went and mystified himself and disappeared during the middle of the game or anything like that. He was there for all 4 quarters, and here he is on the last drive. Yakima, Washington native, like just absolutely putting the team on his back, saying, "Matthew Stafford, I will get you your ring, don't you worry. Aaron Donald, I will get you your ring, don't you worry." And that's like that was something to behold. Just because we both got to watch Cooper Kupp at East Washington too, and he was even back then. You kind of like, wow, that's guy's kind of different. Like it wasn't like he jumped off the screen then. But now it's like he still kind of doesn't jump off the screen, to be fair, except for the fact he just keeps getting open. And you're just like, what? How is he that open? It doesn't make sense. Obviously, this year's a little bit of different anomaly in 2023, or the 2022-23 season. But as far as last year went, I mean, no better one to do it.
Absolutely. And by the way, I'm still convinced that the only reason Skowronek has a job with the Rams is because he kind of looks like Cooper Kupp when he lines up, and he wears the same number 18 that he used to wear as well too. So I'm convinced that he not only is as great as he is, he keeps another guy employed on the Rams as well too. So that's one of the moments that stick out for 2022 for me. And we'll go to you, Kelsey. What's your first one for top 5 sports moments of 2022?
There's a lot I can go with. I'm going to stick with the playoffs for this first one. But this will be the only one that I stick with, kind of on the same page with you. And I'm going back a little bit further into the playoff, or earlier into the playoff run. And that was the divisional round, where all 4 games decided by walk-off scores. the wildest weekend I think I've seen of playoff football. Just an absolutely sit on the edge of your seat, flipping back and forth between channels, hoping you didn't miss a single thing moment where in the 4 games combined, the total victory was by 15 points. In 4 games across the board, 15 total points has decided it, all of which were in walk-off fashion. I mean, you had the Josh Allen coin flip situation. You had, the Bengals walking it off with a field goal. I mean, anything you could have dreamed up happening seemed to have happened in the fourth quarter of all 4 of those games in that weekend. It was a magical moment. Something that we as fans sometimes forget, like, wow, we really are living through this moment. And to me, that was one of the more fun, just kind of encompassing all of what we've experienced in 2022, just all the ups and downs, all into one like weekend of sport.
Absolutely. So too. And by the way, Cooper Kupp against the Buccaneers with that big third down over the top of Antoine Luka to set up that game-winning field goal on top of it. Like, it was the best weekend of NFL playoff football that at least I can remember as well too. And I don't think that's hyperbole when, as you mentioned, all of them came right down to the wire, including one of the best quarterback head-to-head duels. Joe Burrow showing his resilience and getting sacked a billion times. Talked about Cooper Kupp in that game as well too. It was absolutely fantastic weekend as well too. And hopefully this year's playoffs can at least match up to 80% of that. Then we're in for quite the treat as well too. So definitely
let's not forget Bengals kicker walking up to go kick the game-winning field goal and saying, "Hey, guess we're going to the AFC Championship game." Like, what better way to kind of like that quote alone just kind of like tells you all you need to know about that weekend. That was just how insane it was. He was just, the confidence is out of the roof, and especially that Bengals team. The confidence is out of this world there, and it's a good thing they don't have a dome on that stadium because there's no way they could keep all those egos in check last season.
Absolutely. And on top of that, the same weekend, the 49ers beat the Green Bay Packers without scoring an offensive touchdown. They managed to beat that number 1 seed in Green Bay without scoring an offensive touchdown. Like, wild weekend to say the least. And I hope we get one of those this playoff run as well too. So looking ahead now for my next sports moment, I'm going to stick with what was mostly in the NFL, but also expanded across all sports as well too. When I think 2022, thinking of the bloody gritty, the touchdown / end zone / all related sports stance that we went from just Justin Jefferson doing it and Jamar Chase doing it at LSU a little bit, kind of being an LSU thing, to Justin Jefferson terrorizing the NFL as a rookie and kind of making a big thing. Then Jamar Chase came in and started doing it with him in the last 2021-2022 season. Then last year, it got out of control. It got out of control. We had John Moran doing it as well, too, across the NBA. It became a thing in NBA. It became a thing in the MLB. We saw tight ends doing it, like Mike Gesicki absolutely butchering it. We saw quarterbacks like Mac Jones doing it all the way up and down the side, all the way up and down the field in the Pro Bowl. Saw DeForest Buckner at 300 pounds shaking the earth while doing it. Like, it's hard to not think about the bloody gritty, as goofy as it is to think how that kind of captivated the sports world. Everywhere you turn, somebody was grittying up and down on every single highlight, every single big play. It took on a life of its own, and it's slowed down a little bit here as well, too. And it's no shade towards the gritty, but it almost overstayed its welcome. It almost turned into the dab from 2015. It's gotten really close to where that was as well, too, as far as too much. But it's hard to not think about that when you think of sports in 2022.
Yeah, no, that was look. That you name the player, you name the personality in sports. I think they've grittied at this point in time. I don't think, thankfully, I think we made it without having been forced to gritty or anything.
I'm sure we're not doing that. We just didn't do it under the cameras too. I'm pretty
sure. Tom Brady. I guarantee Tom Brady did it because one of his children were like, "Dad, do the gritty," and he was like, "All right, let me do the gritty." And Antonio Brown was on the team at the time and was part of it, and he was like, "Yeah, let's do the gritty."
And then that's why Antonio Brown's no longer on the team, and why the Bucs.
Maybe that's what happened with Antonio Brown. He had to witness Tom Brady doing the gritty, and that's why Antonio Brown did what he did.
You know what? That if I had to witness that as well too, I think I'd do the exact same thing. He might. Everything else afterwards, maybe not. But get it. If I had to witness,
just for leaving the team.
Everything else that's on him. Like I'll leave that one to him. But I would leave the team too if I had to witness Tom Brady gritting.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. All right. Well, so that's enough of that one. So we'll go to the next top 5 sports moment of 2022. Kelsey, what are we looking at for number 2 on your list?
I'm going to go with the entire USFL season, just from start to finish, from the kickoff in Birmingham, where it was just a jam-packed weekend, setting TV records for alternate football in the spring. absolutely fantastic, to what was one of the most exciting championship games there in Canton, Ohio, in the home of football, if you will, where the National Hall of Fame is. And it was just like for the entire season to go off the way it did, where it's a single location event, and to go off really without very many hitches. And like you heard it all around with some of the other leagues that were trying to get started up. There were all these issues financially, all these issues with player personnel, with COVID, with other situations. They handled it beautifully from top to bottom. And I got to give it to the USFL. Now we're getting ready for season 2 of the USFL to kick off. And I kind of maybe did this just because, we are good friends with Zach, and, they have their USFL podcast. So maybe it was in my head that it's like, hey, season 2 is getting ready, and we got to get ready for that now too. But yeah, no, it's exciting to see the USFL kind of get back to what it's doing. Obviously, one of the teams, the Tampa Bay Bandits, is taking this season off, but it's okay because the Memphis Showboats are coming in to replace them. But yeah, it's going to be exciting. Honestly, it really will be, to see what the USFL can do in season 2. And obviously now we get the XFL coming in 2023, but that's looking ahead. But as far as 2022 went, the USFL, everything they did, setting TV records, getting a whole plan laid out for an alternative football league in the spring to run opposite the NFL and give players more of a chance. You had all these NIL deals, all this other stuff for college kids. Now you have the USFL to get an opportunity to get tape out there in what is proven to be a league that can put NFL players into the league, and they can be viable players. So
absolutely. Case in point, Devontae Turpin for the Cowboys, now a Pro Bowl kick returner as well, straight out from the USFL championship MVP to now look where he is now as well too. So I agree. And you mentioned our good friend Zach Alman as well too. Go check out the USFL podcast if you haven't already. The number one source for all things USFL. And he's been a guest on our show a few times as well too. You've seen him on 4th and 4th as our football show. Definitely, we'll definitely be having Zach on as we get closer to that as well too. We'll definitely have fun talking about USFL with Zach. He's the guy to go to for that as well too. Well, you know what? I look forward to that as well too. I can't wait to see what season 2 has to entail, considering it showed that season 1 can be a success as well. Season 1, there's a lot of what ifs going into it, and now we kind of know, all right, this can work. Now we can build on it, as opposed to no one's going to go all chips in until they see it can work. And now they see it can work, I think we're going to see a few more chips with the dip, if you will. I think they're going to go a little bit more heavy on it. So I look forward to season 2.
Yeah, it's gonna be fun. I mean, I'm pumped. I'm actually pretty excited for it.
Absolutely as well too. And I can't wait to see the return of Case Cookus as well. My favorite quarterback in that league, just because, and I will say this every time his name comes up, he's the only quarterback I've ever seen get ejected for a targeting penalty when he was in college playing for I believe it was Weber State as well too. When he cracked back block on a linebacker and then flexed over the top of him. So once again, favorite quarterback ever because he has a targeting call. I will never let it down, and any chance I can bring it up, I will continue to go with it. But moving on now to my third favorite sports moment of 2022. And this one, I'm going to go back into June, and we're going to look at the NBA Finals. But I'm not going to talk about the Game 6. Now I'm going to talk about the clinching moment. I'm going to go into Game 4 of the NBA Finals in Boston Garden. The Warriors are down 2-1. Draymond Green is visibly and literally shaken. You could tell that Boston crowd got into his head. He was playing, even by Draymond Green's quadruple single standards, quite miserably. Everyone was kind of joking that he's already 90 feet out the door, focused on the podcast, not playing basketball. Make it basically all talk, no walk at that point. What happens? The smallest guy on the court, Steph Curry, for lack of a better terms, had a Jon Snow Battle of the Bastards moment where he faced down the entire army, where he faced down all of Boston Garden. Dropped, what was it, a 40 piece in that Game 4 as well too, taunted the crowd, basically turned all eyes on him as well too, and gave Draymond Green a free pass to get back to not being a mess, for lack of a better words. Klay Thompson was still getting back from the injury. He's still getting back. He was never not going to be quite the same Klay from back in his heyday, but he was still getting his sea legs back. And Steph Curry put that team on his back, both on the basketball court as well as mentality-wise, showing a true leader. And I think we kind of talked about it then. That, I think, established him as that top 15 player of all time and climbing as well too. There's always questions. Was he like 25, somewhere in there? He doesn't have the finals MVP. Then all this blah, 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 blah. I think that moment alone catapults him to like number 12 or 13, something like that. He put the numbers there. Fourth quarters, he was strong down the stretch. And he had one of the best basketball leadership moments we've seen there as well too. And we talked about how basketball players, it's either you do it for the Knicks or you do it against the Knicks in Boston Garden. That's kind of a big moment. Or against the Knicks in the Garden. Well, against Boston Garden, you could say that, and you get threatened with somebody to basically run down there and try and stab you because their fans are a little bit rowdy, and that's an understatement. When I say rowdy, I mean downright vitriol. It is very. It's not for the mentally weak. I'm trying to think of the right words.
Respectfully, vitriol.
It is not for the mentally weak. And Steph Curry not only went in there and handled it mentally strong, he invited it, he encouraged it. He threw a hydrogen atom into that. He turned that place into a Hindenburg, basically coming after him, and he answered the call. So for Steph Curry gets a tip of the cap, and that's a big moment that sticks out for me is how he flipped that series around where they went on to win 3 games in a row because of Steph Curry having that moment of basically all eyes on me and I will deliver. And all questions about Steph Curry's placement in history, I think, ended right there. If there was any questions, I think they ended in that night.
Yeah. I think I don't think there's a single doubt in the world now. We all know who and what Steph Curry is, and honestly, he's no longer just the guy that's 6'3" that makes every normal sized human being think they can play basketball. He is the guy that is 6'3", dominating 7-footers in a game built for 7-footers in a way that has never been seen before. And he's doing it at such a high caliber and at such a mentally that's not the right way to say that. It's such a mentally strong way there you go. Mentally strong way that you've not really seen from any current superstars in the same way. It is, I don't like saying Kobe-esque or MJ-esque, but it kind of is in a lot of ways where it's like when it's his time to take over, he's okay. Get out of his way. Just give him the ball and watch him work, and he's going to take over. I can't think of how many game-winning shots we've sat here and watched from this man in his career, and then this. I mean, to see what he did in the Garden, that was. People talk about how bad it is in the Garden. And I think it was 10 times worse than anything I've ever seen in the Garden. I think since maybe Paul Pierce coming back from the wheelchair situation, like him coming back from the wheelchair, that maybe rivaled what started the Draymond getting derailed situation. And then as Draymond got more and more frazzled, it got worse and worse in that crowd. And yet you had Steph just like, don't worry, guys. Draymond, take a seat. I got you. Like, yeah, it's magical. What I'm going to say that a lot, I guess, today. You talk about Luka magical, but magical what Steph was able to do there and to do it so naturally. It's kind of it's not fair. He's a cheat code. He is a cheat code at this point in time. Like if you're able to go in the Garden and do that, it's your cheat code. Like, sorry, there's no competing with that really.
And to throw on top of that too, all those other fun semantics that we talked about that made it stand out. He did that against the number 1 ranked defense too. I mean, like Jason Tatum, Marcus Smart, ranked defense player.
It's easy, guys. He's walking through.
Like even if you take away all the extra stuff, he still did that against the cream de la crop on the defensive end as well too. So absolutely sensational moment from the chef establishing himself up, even more so than he already had and putting a stamp on a legendary career. He could have retired after that series, and I think his place would be pretty locked, but still going strong. Maybe we'll see what he has left as well. But that game 4 was something else, and he turned it into a 1v5 type of game as far as the eyes of everyone else. If they lose that game, it is Steph's fault. He can give you 60, but because of the way he drew all eyes on him, it would not have mattered, and he still delivered. So that's the basketball one that really stuck out for me. And Kelsey, we'll go to you. What are we looking at for number 3 on your list?
So this one's kind of bittersweet, I guess. But it's the retiring of all these GOATs. I do mean there is a laundry list of GOATs that retired this year. And I'm going to start with the GOAT of all GOATs when it comes to male or female athletes. I think Serena Williams, and that is her walking away, her finally calling it a career, walking away. Does it? I mean, look, she's been a fantastic role model for women everywhere, for women of color everywhere as well, whether it be in tennis or whether it just be in the sports world in general. She has proven time and time again that, all these things that people say are not true, that you make your own path. And for her to, do it her way, to retire her way, I applaud everything she did in her career. And I still stand by she's the greatest American athlete, and I will die on that hill at this point in time. And I'm going to stand by that one for now. But, we have Serena Williams retiring, one of the greatest baseball players ever play, the machine himself, Albert Pujols, retiring, along with his teammate, Yadier Molina. You have Roger Federer, one of the greatest male tennis players to ever play, also retired. Sue Bird, talk about great athletes, male or female, from the point guard position. Sue Bird is an absolutely fantastic definition of what you want from a point guard, male or female. And look, her talent will be missed dearly. And let's not forget Katie Ledecky. If you guys don't know anything about Katie Ledecky, she holds the top 23 times in the world in the 800-meter freestyle. Top 23 times in the world when she retired. That's insane. Like you don't just like you're not just beating competition. You're beating the competition so bad every race. You're pushing names that no longer run in that or race in that sport out of the top leaderboard. Like that's how dominant she was with the 800-meter free. And then on top of that, maybe the goat of all goats when it comes to coaching, especially basketball and USA basketball, and that's Coach K, walking away from the hard court as well. So look, that list by itself. You had Serena, Albert Pujols, Roger Federer, Yadier Molina, Sue Bird, Katie Ledecky, and Coach K, Coach Krzyzewski. I'm probably missing some too. And this is just the one I came up with off the top of my head. And of some of the greatest that have retired, and just remembering their careers and everything. This year it's been fun. I guess is bittersweet. At the end of the day.
I will say too. You also forgot Tom Brady. One of the GOATs did retire. Granted, he kind of ruined his own retirement, but he did technically. He retired in 2022. It still happened. I'm still adding it to the list, even though he ruined it.
It was a 100% a promo for his crypto.com deal. I swear, I still stand by that. And then it got busted as soon as the report came out, so they couldn't run the deal anymore.
That explains the crypto drop a little bit as well too. But also the Katie Ledecky, that 800 record book has now basically turned into the Katie Ledecky Chronicles. That is just how absolutely dominant she's been. It's not even a record book anymore; it's her resume.
It's her guest book for just showing up at the local pool. It feels like that's an insane stat to think about. Like that you set the top 23 race records in your race. Like that's silly. It's absolutely silly.
It's just downright asinine. But that's going to lead me. You kind of more or less guided us right into my next one as well too. You mentioned Coach K retiring as well too. That's what my next moment was as well, focusing on Coach K. Arguably the greatest basketball coach of all time, regardless of across men, women, college, NBA, high school, whatever. Considering he's won at the college level, such a high level, and then he took NBA players into the Olympics and is a multiple-time gold medal champion. The coach of the Redeem team, he, for lack of better terms, fixed the USA Olympic basketball. But considering where they were beforehand, where they got the bronze and they were disappointing, to he took over and where they are now as well too. As it feels like if they're a perpetual gold medal, and even when the games are close, it's uncomfortable. Half the players don't even play anymore as well. And the worldwide, it's starting to turn into a worldwide sport. He still has held them strong for his entire time too. What I also thought was interesting is how weirdly poetic is it for Coach K's final season, his swan song, his final game of his career is a Final Four game against UNC while he's at Duke as well too. Like, obviously, it wasn't quite a Disney story as he didn't walk away beating them as well, too. Unfortunately, he did fall in that game by, I think it was 72-69. It was a very close game. But what a weirdly poetic way to go out as well, too, against your arch rival, the team you've played as much as anybody. 50-47 all-time against them, which means he faced off almost 100 times against UNC in his coaching career. He's seen some of the best of the best, some of the worst of the worst, and every JJ Redick in between. He's gotten countless players to the NBA, countless got people into full-time professions, got them through college. Basically, he's been a huge, strong influence on a lot of young men as well, too, getting from young men to full-grown adults. And you could go across the coaching spectrum as well. I don't think there's one coach that really has anything negative to say about him as well, too. Even the most staunch of Duke haters. You got
maybe Roy Williams.
Carolina. Even Roy Williams would be like, I hate Duke so much, but I'm glad Mike Krzyzewski's retired so I can like him again.
Exactly. Like that's exactly the case. It'd be like, I hated Coach K when we coached against each other. But other than that, he's a great team. Like that's probably the conversation if you had that with Roy Williams. I mean,
absolutely. It would have been great to see him go out with a title win or anything along those lines. But seeing him get a chance to go against his arch nemesis in his final game, it just felt weirdly fitting as well too. It's a shame that it had to go out in a loss for him, but he's always going to remember for what he did either way as well too. And when they do make that Coach K documentary, I hope it is kind of like The Last Dance, like a 10-parter going over all the chronicles of everything that have to do with it. From early days, the late days, the Olympics. I look forward to whatever documentary type series / episode / movie, whatever they're going to do with it. I can't wait to see it because he has been had an unprofound touch on a lot of young people's lives, both from the sports perspective and just in life as well.
Yeah, fun fact about Coach K, he actually recruited the only two Power 5, I guess you can say, Power 5 basketball players from the state of Alaska in his career. So, yeah, very, very fun fact there. That Carlos Boozer, obviously one of them. And then I believe it's not Leitner, but the Trajan Langdon. Were the two from Alaska that he coached. No other coach would go up to Alaska to recruit. But he just like, you know what? Let's go get this tall, bald guy from Juneau Douglas, and then let's get Trajan Langdon, who can shoot the lights out of a gym. No big deal. But yeah, no, Coach K, I can't wait to see what's happening. And as I talked, as we'll talk about here in a minute about one of the other sports moments, but this is one that Disney's in the wings. Like, all right, I'm ready to pay $5 billion for this biography. Let's go, Coach. Like, get it out. Like, get the biography out so we can make a movie about it already, please. Like, they're just ready.
HBO, Amazon, whoever's going to do it, get started now. We don't have time to waste as well, too. I can't wait for it as well, too. Coach K, Coach Krzyzewski, nobody got his name right the first time, but they all still can do Coach K as well, too. So what are we looking at for your – oh, go ahead.
Well, before I do that, but my only request is for the Coach K documentary movie that if they're going to have an actor play Coach K, can we do it before Al Pacino passes? I need Al Pacino to be Coach K. That's all I need in life.
That is an offer that I would not refuse as well, too. Like, I will not refuse it if they make that offer. I can't wait for it. So that'll do it for the fourth one for me, Kelsey. What are we looking at for your fourth favorite sports moment of 2022?
Yeah, so I'm going to go with the most recent probably of all of them, and that's from this World Cup, and that is, I just talked about, we're proud to talk about something where Disney's in the wings waiting to make a documentary about this, and that is Lionel Messi and his World Cup win finally. Mighty little Leo, getting his first World Cup win. Obviously, despite all the Salt Bay antics involved in this one, afterwards, Messi has finally got his trophy. Finally got that last thing to put him up in that upper echelon of soccer, football players, whatever you want to call them. He's up there now with the Pelés, with the Maradonas, with the long-term remembrance people. And honestly, he is the best player of our generation, and there's no question about that. There wasn't any question left going into this World Cup, but really solidified by this World Cup win for Messi because his team played for him versus, the other guy's team let's just say they were happy when he got benched. So Messi never has been the case where Argentina has been happy that Messi did not play. In fact, they are so angry at one point in time with Messi that he was playing on the field but kind of taking a break during a friendly, that they said that he was the little flea that fled, which is, if you don't know, his nickname is the little flea. I'm going to talk about his time in Barcelona. But yeah, no, Messi finally kind of ending that storybook run and getting Argentina that World Cup trophy they so desperately wanted, and really Messi so desperately needed for his own, career resume, if you will. But it's a magical moment and happy to see it happen.
And he did it in I don't want to say a blaze of glory, but in arguably one of the greatest World Cup finals we've ever seen, with a historic performance on the other side to co-acted too. So it's like he had a rival going head to head with on top of it as well too, which makes it that much better than if they would have
a young rival too.
Mm-hmm.
A young rival trying to take Messi's spot, not just in the international one, but even on their own home club team. They play both play for PSG. So you look at it, it's like they're both trying to Mbappe's trying to usurp Messi in a lot of ways. So it's Game of Thrones, but in the soccer world.
Exactly. Young lion trying to take over the tribe as well, too. But the old king holds on just a little bit longer. So speaking of old kings holding on, I'm going to go to my final sports moment of 2022. And we're going to bend the rules a little bit because I'm going to pick one, but it's going to be encapsulated with a few others as well, too. And we're going to go to the octagon. I'm looking at Leon Edwards with his dramatic, climactic, explosive, terrifying head kick knockout late in the 5th round over Kamaru Usman. Less than 90 seconds ago, Kamaru Usman cruising to a 50-45 decision win, maybe 49-46, something along those lines. The point is, it was a straight, thorough domination. Then one shot, one kill head kick knockout from Leon Edwards to ice Kamaru Usman, steal the championship belt, and stop what Kamaru Usman was on the brink of breaking Anderson Silva's record for consecutive wins in the UFC at 16. Anderson Silva did it, was considered the GOAT. Kamaru Usman was closing in on it, and Leon Edwards stopped it right in its tracks as well, too. An absolutely incredible performance, a stunning knockout as well, too, that commentator team was literally writing his obituary, for lack of a better words, during the call. And then out of nowhere, he shuts the lights out. I'm going to add on top of that too, just the long reigning champions that went out during this year as well too. Mentioned Kamaru Usman, Israel Adesanya, long reigning champ, multiple time defense, losing late in the 5th round for himself as well too. Saw Juliana Pena lose her title after taking it from the long reigning Amanda Nunes as well. So we saw that rivalry go back and forth a little bit as well. There's just a lot of championship belt changing. Charles Oliveira losing his to Islam Makhachev as well. Just the way the titles have shifted around, especially this last year, and seeing those long reigning champs lose, especially late, when normally in those championship fights, if it's a late rally, it's oftentimes the champion who gets a late rally in those 5th rounds, like Anderson Silva versus Chael Sonnen. Losing most of the time, then in the 5th round, the champion in those championship rounds pulls it out. This time we've kind of seen the flip script where the contenders have come on strong really, really late as well. Look at John Jones and GSP. Those 5th rounds is where they won their fights that they were losing, or the ones that they arguably lost. In the 5th round and 4th round is where they flipped the tide. This time we see the contenders taking it as well too. And it's definitely gonna be highlighted by that Leon Edwards incredible KO that's going to be on hype videos, previews, poster boards, whatever you want to say it, for years to come. Technically sound, technically smooth, one shot, one kill. Absolutely incredible performance from the Octagon as well too. And I look forward to seeing their trilogy fight coming up hopefully in 2023 as well. So Kelsey, what are we looking at to round out your top 5 sports moments of 2022?
Yeah, the last one, this one's a little bit, I guess maybe I'm a homer for this one because it is a San Francisco Giants situation. But I think it's I'm continuing the trend of kind of a historic moment here. And that's Alyssa Nakin becoming the first female to actually coach on the field of an MLB game this season for the Giants, as after the first base coach was ejected, they substituted her in as the base coach there. And kind of just a historic moment that continues the trend for baseball right now, where there may be a lot of problems in some of the places in the sports world, but baseball is trying super hard right now to not just diversify for within the male population, within race, but also into getting females involved, getting females in the front office into different coaching positions and all over the place. This kind of keeps the ball moving in the right way, something that should have happened a long time ago, but obviously due to slow moving gears in some people's brains, it doesn't exactly move as fast as you would like it to. But definitely something that, proud moment for the Giants, proud moment for baseball history. And, just love to see it. And hopefully we get more of it in the next coming years. More. Look, it's always better, right? Evolution is change, and change is better. Say what you will about that. And no sticks in the mud around here.
Definitely as well too. So that'll do it for our top 5 sports moments each of 2022. Absolutely sensational year in the world of sports. But there is one more fun moment we want to talk about, and that is getting a partnership for the sports betting app known as Outlier. They are the sponsors of Crunch Time as well too. If you don't know about Outlier, well, you definitely should know. They're here to make betting life easier and smarter so you can win more money as well too. Click the link in our bio, outlier.bet/highlowsports. Get yourself a free 7-day trial as well too. Get yourself some live betting odds. Take a look at some of the trends. Get yourself across multiple sports books from FanDuel to DraftKings, Caesars, everything in between. Set yourself up for a chance to win money in the best way as well too. And honestly, for Crunch Time, we're going to keep it really simple. We just wanted to say thank you to everybody as well too. It was a wonderful year for us. We saw a lot of new people come in and join us as well too. A lot more comments, a lot more views, a lot more reaching out from other people. It's been sensational to watch the podcast grow and see all of you come along for the journey with us. So for us, for Crunch Time, it's quick and simple. We just want to say thank you, and it's been an absolute pleasure. And we look forward to having a lot of you coming with us in 2023.
Yeah, no, it's been a blast. I honestly can't say I don't look forward to these Wednesday nights. I absolutely love it. I could be exhausted, and I'm still like, let's do it. And many times we have gotten on here, and I have literally just woken up from a nap, but I'm actually excited to do the podcast. It is so fun. It's this year especially has been a blast, and kind of our process along the way. All these live shows, getting to go to places and travel and experience different things. We did the Fantasy Football Expo this year. Got to meet some people, do some interviews around there. Got to work with all these great brands. Outlier being one of the more recent ones. Colorcast obviously being the parent company of Outlier, and all the work we did with them. We have Manscaped now, who's a fantastic partner. All of our former partners. Well, Airtime we did stuff with. It's been a lot of fun along the way. Don't forget we did the BrewDog Browns tailgates. Those were an absolute blast as well. We got to go to Pittsburgh last year. I know that was last year, but maybe things like that will happen again this year coming up. So been a lot of fun for 2022, and now we kind of set the bar for this year. Now we got to surpass it next year, right? That's the goal. But no, we couldn't honestly do that without everybody else out there listening. We appreciate you guys as always. Tuning in every week, or just even catching the reruns, or even just the shorts or whatever we put on Reels or Instagram, or goofy stuff we put on TikTok, or DJ talking about the Broncos being chased by Gyarados down a waterfall. Those. We get to have fun moments, and we're glad we get to share the opportunity with you guys.
Absolutely, as well too, and there's plenty more to come as well too. It's been an absolute treat. Once again, catch us on all of our social medias if you're new here as well too. All your favorite podcast apps as well too. The episodes live every Wednesday night, and they do get uploaded on Thursday as well. They do get uploaded late Wednesday, and you can find them on Thursday as well too. So we look forward to seeing you all again for the rest of 2023. It is always a pleasure. We will see you guys next week as we kick off 2023 with the new year.